You are looking at a live picture from Lair Stadium in Pahokee, Florida, where thousands of excited fans await in eager anticipation as the 2008 Muck Bowl between Pahokee and Glade Central High Schools is about to get underway. Welcome to a special Saturday afternoon live edition of Palm Beach County Friday Night Football. I'm Dan Oliver, and joining me today in the booth is Tom Abel, who is filling in for our own Bill Bolender as today's color analyst. Tom is the assistant head coach at Wellington High School. And Tom, we are glad to have you here, and welcome to the Muck Bowl. What are your thoughts?
Thanks for having me, Dan. I tell you what, this is a high school football game I've never been to one bigger in my life. I'm from up north, and we don't have anything like this, and I'm excited to get going and see what happens today.
Well, we are told kickoff is going to come at approximately 1:10 p.m. That is about 8 minutes from now. But before we get to that, we have to mention a couple of things. Of course, the reason that we are witnessing the first daytime Muck Bowl is due to the recent gang violence, which has affected players, families, and communities of both Glade Central and Pahokee. Two Glades players were victims of gun violence leading up to this game. Both of those survived, but Pahokee player Norman Pooh Griffith was killed following the team's homecoming game in September. The school district and the schools agreed it would be better for security reasons to play this game in daylight. And frankly, while it isn't ideal for the players or coaches or anybody, they are just glad that the game wasn't canceled altogether. So, Coach, first, let's talk a little bit about these two teams. Two of the most talented teams in Florida, and in fact probably two of the more talented teams in the nation. Scores of kids have gone on to play college football and professional football from both of these schools. What are your thoughts on the two teams?
Well, both teams are similar in the offensive packages that they run on the films that I watch, and both teams are similar on the defensive packages. And I think whoever controls the ball today doesn't turn it over. Whoever comes out, who has most heart and wants this game more than anything, is going to come out on top. And speed's going to be the factor. Which team's faster than the other one today? Because they're both pretty fast.
They are both pretty fast. We've watched film of both of these schools, and that is one thing that you notice right off the bat: the speed on offense, the blazing speed on defense as well. Pahokee, of course, 8-1 this year. Their only loss came to Burns, South Carolina, which is the number one rated high school football team in America.
Correct,
so,
yes.
so nothing to be ashamed about there. Glade Central is 9-0 under new head coach Jesse Hester, who attended Florida State University when I was there, Jesse the Jet, and went on to a long 11-year NFL career as a receiver. Started out with the Oakland Raiders. So let's talk about the keys to the game for both of these teams. Both of them have the speed, so if that equals each other out, what is the key for each of these teams to come out victorious today?
Well, two of the keys, what everybody focuses on a lot of times is the speed and the skill position and all that. I think two of the keys are your offensive and defensive lines. They're both huge, incredibly huge. They're fast, so whoever dominates up front, whether it's on the defensive line or on the offensive line, that's going to be the key to the game. And like I mentioned before, whoever controls the ball, no interceptions, no fumbles, so on and so forth, that's going to be a big factor of the game also.
Now, emotion plays a lot of factors in football games, obviously, and this is an incredibly emotional game for Pahokee, losing one of their star players this year in a tragic murder. Dedicating the season, dedicating this game to them, the biggest game of the year for both schools. How does emotion affect Pahokee today?
Well, emotion could be in favor for Pahokee, but yet it could also be a negative for Pahokee, because if Pahokee comes out overly pumped up and everything like that, then they might create mistakes, things might not go their way. But if they come out and realize that they have the team that could possibly beat Glade Central and beat them up pretty good, because you never know what can happen in football, then it might be in their factor. And on the other hand, Glades Central, they have a new head coach, and I believe that your team follows the character of your head coach, and they're undefeated right now, so it's going to be a great ball game regardless of the emotion.
Now let's go over to Glade Central, and here's one interesting fact that I didn't realize before this game. Before doing a little research on it, these Glades players have never beaten Pahokee. Very odd, since Glade Central has dominated this series, being the larger school and a lot of times having more athletes. but yet none of these kids have ever beaten Pahokee. Pahokee's won 2 in a row, and they did not play the year before because of a hurricane. So what does that do to the psyche of the Glades players?
Well, being a coach myself, the mental aspect of the game is huge. Pahokee knows that they have owned Glade Central for 2 years. They're going to go for number 3. And if you're a Glade Central player, that weighs heavily on your mind, especially if you're seniors. But you want to come out as a senior and you want to play the best you possibly can and try to take it to them to change what has happened over the past couple of years.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you can hear the crowd is really getting revved up because we are just moments away from the kickoff of the 2008 Muck Bowl. Kicking off for Pahokee, the Blue Devils will be Brandon Hawthorne, who is also a linebacker and tight end. They have a separate kicker who does the field goal duties. So Glade Central is going to be receiving back deep for the Raiders, Antoine Chisholm, and also looks like LaRon Thomas, if I am correct, or possibly Rantavius Wooten, their star receiver. We'll be talking about these guys as we go. But now the kickoff received at about the 5-yard line, and he's going to be dragged down very quickly. Rantavius Wooten tackled by a swarm of Pahokee players.
That's where,
and the Muck Bowl is underway.
Yeah, Dan, that's where the speed comes into factor. Like I just told you, number 17, who is Buxton for Pahokee, just flew down the field, stayed in his lane. Nobody got a hold of him, and he made a great tackle.
All right, the quarterback for Glade Central is a new one this year. He is number 8, and his name is LaRon Thomas. He has got a wealth of talent to go to. 2 very talented running backs, Antonio McLeod and Antoine Chisholm. And Rantavius Wooten, who we mentioned, could be one of the best receivers in the southeastern United States. So, first down, Thomas got 4 receivers wide. He's looking to throw in the first play. He's hit. The ball pops out, and big number 55 is jumping on it, and it looks like he's got it. Darrell Willis recovers the fumble, and Pahokee is in business just like that.
Boy, that's a huge momentum factor. I tell you, this defense is incredibly fast. They're skilled. I watched numerous films on them, and I tell you what, they're out there, they're jacked up, ready to go.
Willis goes 6'1", 300 pounds, but he moved pretty quickly there to get to that football. So all of a sudden, Glade's in trouble. You know they probably were throwing to try to take the crowd out of this a little bit. It really backfired when Thomas got hit from behind and fumbled.
Well, their defense just put them in great position. They're on the 4-yard line, and like I said, this is a big momentum.
First and goal, Nukese Richardson up the middle. He is going to only get a couple of yards, which will set up second and goal. Now, Nukese Richardson, his nickname, by the way, is Pete. He is a runner. He is a passer. He plays both aspects of the game very well. He can drop back and throw. He is a deadly scrambler. We've seen on the tapes of these games how quick and elusive he can be. And also, he's thrown for 1,000 yards this year as well. So here on second down,
their offensive...
Got the I formation. The give is going to be to number 2, Vincent Smith. Smith is going to be tackled short of the goal line here, and I think we got a war of the trenches going on right now, Coach.
Yes, like I had mentioned before, these offensive and defensive lines, it reminds me of watching a college football game because they are big enough, they are fast enough, and they're strong enough, and they are smacking it around in there.
Vincent Smith, by the way, is a senior. He has gained 1,382 yards this year. 211 yards in his last game against Vero Beach. Doubt he's going to get that many this time, but he is a playmaker. So on third and goal, about a yard to go, it's Smith. He is in for the touchdown, and Pahokee draws first blood, the first score of the 2008 Muck Bowl.
The crowds here are just going crazy. That score, that quick in the game, that's going to be in favor for Pahokee pretty much the whole day, Dan.
Blaze Thompson, the head coach for Pahokee, is in his second year here, and all this team has known the past 2 years is success. 2 state titles in a row. But they say here in the Glades and in Pahokee, this game is more important than a state championship game. The extra point is good. There appears to be a flag on the field, so let's wait and see. What that is about. Going to see the call. My guess is it's against Glades and will be declined, and that looks like the case. Nikese Richardson talking to the head referee, and that is the case. So that's your score, 7-0 early in the first quarter here at Lair Field in Pahokee.
Yes, going back to that play on offense, they ran power off the right side where they led the fullback up off tackle, and that's pretty much the same thing that both teams are going to do all night. They're going to see if they can establish a run and then come back to the deep, big pass because they want to try to loosen up defenses, because on the outside, every time I've watched them, they're going man-to-man coverage.
Okay, getting ready to kick it off once again is number 4, Brandon Hawthorne. Hawthorne, and we may see, is a very quick, very good defensive player for the Blue Devils. And the leader on defense for them as well, Carlos Lammons, the linebacker. We'll talk more about this. The kick goes into the end zone, and that tells you why he kicks off for them, as Glades will now get a second chance to get into this game. Remember, on the first play of the game, it was LaRon Thomas hit and fumbled. Pahokee recovered, and 3 plays later in the end zone for the first score. 7-0 here in the Muck Bowl. 10:25 to go in the first quarter.
Well, once again, Pahokee's in great field position due to the good work by their special teams.
All right, 1st and 10, ball on the 20-yard line.
Coming out,
It's LaRon Thomas is going to drop back into the shotgun. Going back, looking for a man. He's going deep, and he's got a receiver. He is wide open. Oh, and he drops the ball. Rantavius Wooten had it right in his arms and dropped the ball.
Well,
early on, it looks like the opening jitters belong to Glade Central.
Yes, they do. And like I said before, I think it's a mental thing. Wooten, who's an incredible receiver, boy, he was wide open on that play. And that is just jitters because he dropped it and he knew that if he'd got it, he'd have scored on it.
Up, but there was a flag on the play. Turns out illegal procedure against Glades. So that's going to back them up 5 more yards. So to add insult to injury, not only was the pass incomplete, but they now face a 1st and 15. Let's mention the Glades offense here while we have a little time. We told you about Thomas at quarterback, McLeod and Chisholm, the running backs, Wooten, the wide receiver, another wide receiver, Fred Pickett. The offensive line, all seniors on Glade Central, and they are big. They average over 300 pounds a man. So Glades should think they should be able to run the ball in this game. Thus far, they have not tried. In 2 offensive plays, they have got nothing.
Right. They're coming out in the spread formation with the ace back.
All right, the give this time is going to be around the right-hand side, and getting a little bit of room there was Antonio McLeod, but a flag is down.
It's going to be a holding penalty.
And, yeah, exactly what I was going to say, where you normally would see holding. So if this continues, this is a disastrous start for the Raiders, who really need to settle down and get things going if they're going to be competitive in this game.